The Emperor's last command. Darth Vader had known the cold embrace of darkness for longer than he cared to remember. The man who had once been Anakin Skywalker was a distant, broken memory, buried deep beneath layers of hatred, betrayal, and suffering. Yet, through it all, he had clung to one dream, the one thing that had driven him to make the choices that led him down this path. Power. Power so absolute that no one, not even the Emperor himself, could stand in his way. Vader had always believed that power would be his salvation, the key to rewriting his past, to saving those he had failed. But as the years passed, the dream had begun to rot. It no longer felt like a destiny, but a prison, a suffocating cloak of duty to a master who controlled every aspect of his existence. The armor that encased him, the respirator that kept him alive, these had become chains, binding him to a life he no longer recognized. The Emperor was dead, or so Vader believed. He had felt the surge of energy, the final collapse of Palpatine's power as the Death Star was destroyed. And yet, standing alone on the bridge of his starship, watching the stars stretch into infinity, Vader felt it, the unmistakable, chilling presence of his master. The galaxy was quiet now. The rebellion had won. Luke, his son, had escaped, but the Force was alive with a sinister energy, pulling Vader toward something ancient and malevolent. It was a presence that gnawed at his mind, refusing to let go. It whispered to him in the dead of night, in the moments when he was alone in his meditation chamber. And always, the message was the same. Come. At first, Vader ignored it, believing it to be the lingering ghost of his old master, nothing more than a remnant of the dark side. But the pull grew stronger, more insistent. The whispers became voices, hissing commands in a language he did not understand but instinctively obeyed. One day, the pull became impossible to resist. Vader found himself at the controls of his ship, entering the coordinates that had appeared in his mind like a brand. The nav computer charted a course for the outer rim, beyond the reaches of the known galaxy, to a star system that no longer appeared on any map. A forgotten place, a place of death. As his ship slipped into hyperspace, Vader sat in silence, his breath steady, his mind focused on the journey ahead. He did not fear what awaited him. He had embraced the dark side fully, his fate sealed long ago. But there was something about this place, this command that resonated deep within him. It felt final, absolute. The ship emerged from hyperspace in the orbit of a planet unlike any Vader had ever seen. The surface was a barren wasteland, shrouded in swirling black clouds that seemed to pulse with energy. Lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating jagged mountains and twisted spires of rock that jutted up from the desolate ground like the bones of some ancient creature long dead. As Vader descended toward the planet's surface, the whispers became louder, filling his helmet with voices. They spoke of power, of a forgotten legacy buried deep beneath the surface. They promised him the ultimate mastery of the dark side, something even the Emperor had never achieved. The ship landed on a jagged plateau, and Vader stepped out into the storm. The air was thick, charged with the dark side of the Force. It crackled against his armor, pulling him toward the entrance of a massive, ancient temple carved into the side of a mountain. The structure was unlike anything he had ever seen. Massive, oppressive, radiating with the dark energy that had called him here. Vader entered the temple, his lightsaber at the ready, though no enemies appeared to challenge him. The inside of the temple was as dead as the planet outside. Ancient carvings lined the walls, depicting scenes of destruction, betrayal, and sacrifice. The deeper he went, the more he felt the weight of the place pressing down on him, as though the dark side itself was watching, waiting. Finally, he reached the heart of the temple, a vast chamber bathed in a sickly green light. At the center of the chamber was a throne, and upon it sat a figure. Cloaked in shadow, the figure was barely more than a silhouette, but the voice that emerged from the darkness was unmistakable. "You have come at last, my apprentice." Vader froze, his breath catching in his throat. It was impossible. Palpatine was dead. He had killed him. He had watched him fall. "Did you truly believe you could escape me?" The Emperor's voice sneered. The figure on the throne leaned forward, and though the shadows still obscured its face, Vader could feel the malevolent energy radiating from it. It was Palpatine, but twisted, corrupted by something even darker than before. This was no mere ghost. This was something far worse. "I control the dark side, Vader. I control you." The Emperor's voice was a hiss now, filling Vader's mind with images of his past failures, Padme's death, his betrayal of the Jedi, his weakness before the Emperor. The room spun, and for the first time in years, Vader felt fear. The whispers in his head became screams, and the dark side that had once given him strength now tore at his mind, pulling him apart from the inside. He tried to fight it, to summon his anger, but the power of the dark side had turned against him. The Emperor's voice echoed in his skull. "You will never be free." Vader staggered, his lightsaber slipping from his grasp, clattering to the stone floor. His vision blurred, and the chamber around him began to warp. The walls closed in, the ceiling seemed to stretch impossibly high, and the shadows deepened, swirling around him like a vortex. As the last of his strength ebbed away, Vader realized the terrible truth. The dark side had never been his to command. He had been a puppet all along, a pawn in a game played by forces far beyond his control. The Emperor had never truly died. His essence, his power, had lived on, waiting for the moment to reclaim what was his. And now, as Vader sank to his knees, the voices of the dark side consumed him, pulling him into the void. The dream of ultimate power, the dream of freedom, had been a lie all along. Darth Vader, once feared across the galaxy, was now nothing more than a shadow, lost in the endless depths of the dark side.